This is RPGDad.
RPGNate, and welcome back to our weekend wrap-up podcast. Weekend gaming wrap-up podcast. We just started the Prince of Undeath. Also, a side note, if you are playing E2 and you're going up against a Ghoul King, it wants you to go directly into this because it does mention a Chaos ship docked into the place where they are, or at least as close to docked in as it can get. So my players were a pain in the ass though, and they decided they wanted to take a 6-month break, so I had to improvise. I ended up
Well, we had so much stuff from the old thing, We needed to go sell crap. We had all this gold. It doesn't matter how many bags of holding and stuff you have. We just had too much stuff we had to get rid of. I had stuff I wanted to do with my character. I think other characters, if they were being more proactive, they would have had stuff they wanted to do with their character. But we took the time. We wanted to take the time. Plus, I had a war to deal with.
Yeah, that war is still going on.
So, plus I had to take care of my city's now built. My main city, and people are starting to populate it, and I had stuff I wanted to deal with, so it all goes to the fact that we like to do some role playing, and not just be forced through the modules. And really, these E1, E2, E3, they try to force you through the modules and just make it just miniature combat, where you're just going one to the other, and strip the role playing aspect of it. But a good DM, which you're doing an excellent job, does what you're doing. Lets us do the role playing. Lets us do what we need to do with our characters and do some stuff outside of the module.
Yeah.
And that's a good thing.
Yeah. So I ended up having to create a custom hook. It had nothing to do with any of the other hooks. What did you think of it?
It was okay. I mean, I think you probably could have used one of the hooks that was there, the one where the guy comes. Even though it's for adventurers that never played it, but there's the one where the guys come and he ends up giving you a teleportation scroll and you can get there. You could have worked that in just as easily. But what you did worked as well. I mean, you started to try to read the thiefy kind of one, and it really didn't make any sense because, even though my character is a thief and verging on evil, she's starting to lean more towards lawful evil.
It didn't make any sense either way because it's like, all right, so I just read this.
It didn't, yeah, and that didn't make sense as far as the characters either.
And it's just like, what did that have to do with anything? And I did say that,
yeah,
because it just was like, what? Because
no, here's the problem: they give you all these hooks, and most of them are based on epic destinies that characters are going to have. Most of those epic destinies are appropriate for maybe a party full of, I don't know, good characters.
But no, like the Archmage, that's...
Yeah, but nobody in our party has taken any of these hooks, or these epic destinies, so you couldn't work them in. So honestly, the only one is either make one up or use the one that's at the end, that even though we did that stuff, we just took a 6-month break. And that would have made sense.
The last 2 seasons, I have used the Archmage hooks because it didn't really
matter.
Yeah, and it didn't really lean towards actually the Archmage path. It was just really wizardy stuff. And we do have a wizard in our group, so it was easy to do that. But this season, it just kind of veered away from that. It really went towards the Archmage because you are getting close to level 30 and it's focusing on what...
Your epic destiny.
Yeah, on what your goals would be. Like getting... what does it call it? Where is it? Sanctum Sanctorum. Turning the Forge of Four Worlds into that.
And nobody, that's the problem. I mean, these hooks are very specific, and unless you have characters that are built with those epic destinies, none of the hooks except for the last one makes any sense.
Yeah.
Or a custom hook, which you did a fine job.
Yeah. I tried to go as good as I could because it was like on the fly. I did have a custom hook. I didn't really like the way I worded it, so I just kind of went with it.
But anyway, we had our normal group. Myself with my thief. RPG Gem played this weekend with her executioner. We had the artificer, the mage, and the druid. But it was just a regular group, and I'd say for most of them, we'll talk about the last encounter. We ended up calling in help because we have that ability if we need to or running out of time. And I think we could have killed that last thing without bringing that in.
Yeah,
but we just ran out of time.
But the issue was, you ran out of time. Granted, the druid was taking a whooping because it had like a plus 37 to hit.
Well, we found that potion of life at one point, and you realize that even if the character dies outright, the next turn I can bring them back to life with that.
Yeah.
And I'm holding on to that until Orcus comes around.
Yeah.
And, nobody's going to get the benefit of that, I'll admit.
So the first encounter you had to go, because you had sold the staff that you needed to get here, the Odd Aviator.
Well, you even said we couldn't keep it because Odd Aviator wants to kill fey creatures, and what do we have in our group?
Fey creatures.
We've got fey creatures, so the holder is going to want to have to kill members of the group. And it makes no sense to keep it. So we were just like, hey, can we go to your mage lich guy? And we were like, hey, can we borrow it? And obviously he's not going to have anybody that wanted to buy the thing.
No.
So he's kind of keeping it in his broom closet as a collectible. A collectible, who knows? And
he uses that at walking.
He went ahead and opened up the portal for us to get there.
He uses that as an intimidating walking stick.
Okay.
Yeah. I don't know. So you guys managed to get him to do that. It wasn't too hard. He was just like, "What? Why do you want that?" And you told him why.
We told him the Raven Queen, is having issues again, and people came, and because he seems to be friends with Vecna and those people, he was okay with it.
Yeah. So
I guess if liches can have friends.
Well, of course they can. Everybody can have friends. They just tend to be dicks.
There you go.
Have no friends and be in caves in the middle of nowhere. So, So you guys went to the chaos ship through the portal. I believe you started saying some things, and you guys got into the fight. They didn't really initiate. You guys initiated because you were like, all right, we're going to kill you. And they're like, okay.
Well, yeah, we came, we actually role-played for it was a short one. I think everybody was, I don't know if we were tired this weekend or the group wasn't, I think the whole group was off this weekend. We weren't as good with the role-play, and there were a couple times where we could have role-played through, and I'm like, and I really wanted to initiate combat in them because I didn't feel like role-playing. And it probably had, part of it was, I was tired. We sat up till 3 a.m. playing games the night before.
So it's 100% your fault I was off. Since you were the one like, hey, come get on COD with me.
Yep, so we sat up and played games, and that kind of, 3 a.m. is a long time to sit there and play. I mean,
You sat up till 3 a.m. I went into my room and started reading this stuff at 2:30. And I've been reading this stuff since, like, Friday, figuring out what the hell I was going to do. And then I had, like, an idea, and I was like, eh. And I kind of ended up using it, using the Sarsworn and all that. But
anyway, I think but I don't know what everybody else's excuse was. It was just like we were all off when it came to our role-playing. And I admit, I just wanted to kind of pummel my way through on some of these.
Yeah. But I was happy with the way I worded the hook that I decided to make.
It worked out. And then when we got there, we initiated combat. It was the captain and a couple of demons.
It was a captain, 3 demons, and 10 abyssal ghouls.
And the ghouls were all minions. And I
think you used Arc Lightning.
I don't think he killed them all, did he? Or this one he succeeded. It was another one later where the Arc Lightning just didn't do squat.
No, because I used that central eye on him several times.
Yeah, you suck.
Yeah, that was funny.
But anyway, we killed these guys off pretty quick. And then before we went up to the helm to look at the wheel, I got the idea because we still had the Ghoul King's cape and we had his other staff, right?
His staff and most likely his crown.
So we had all this stuff, And, being a thief, I also have a disguise kit.
Well, first, before you did this, the artificer goes up to the, whatever it's called, where the wheel is, stern or something like that. And,
to the helm.
To the helm. And he sees he sees 4 guys down near a hatchet, or a hatch. And, they're like, what the hell's going on? And, he starts talking with them. He's starting to convince them that nothing happened. They're just there. And then you guys are down there.
Well, we start throwing the stuff on the mage. I use the disguise kit. And
you roll like a 40 bluff.
Yeah, and I roll him. I make him up so he looks like the Ghoul King. And then I made myself up so I was a little different and said, I was the replacement captain, that the other guy had been relieved of duty for incompetence. So we come up and we talk to these guys, and the bluff is, and this goes to thinking when you're playing. We could have just had another combat because that's what it wants you to do, and it also goes towards having a good DM who will sit there and say, that's a good idea, because we sat there and we're like, we've got all this stuff. Why not see if we can say, hey, this is the Ghoul King. We need to use this ship. We're supposed to be here. What's your problem? Just let us do what we got to do. And we passed the bluffs. Mm-hmm. They failed miserably. That was the problem.
They couldn't succeed either way because they have a plus 17 on their wisdom. And you guys rolled like a 38 and 40, I think.
Well, it was a 38 and a 40, but I got plus 2 because of the kits. So
no, that was after the plus 2.
But, there was no way they'd be able to... They were dummies. And,
well, they weren't wise.
They had the crit. If they crit, they would have passed.
No, only thieves get that.
Okay, well, yeah, I
So it was impossible for them to pass.
So they were... And I relieved them of duty and sent them on their way as well.
Well, at first you're trying to get them to release the
moorings.
The moorings, and they're like, well, we can't do that. Well, I had to do that because if I let you guys do that...
It didn't work, though, because I've looked at this afterwards to do a write-up, the few that we've done, and when the captain died, the moorings are automatically locked.
Yeah.
So there's no way around it. I mean, I was hoping we could get around it, but the captain dies, the moorings lock. It's in the first book. I haven't looked at these. I looked at some of the stuff from the first book, and it says once he dies, the moorings lock up.
I need to read this stuff, but it was 3 a.m, and I couldn't do anything.
Well, read it over this week. One of my vlog is going to be about DM preparation, and it goes towards stuff like this. But anyway...
It was 3 a.m.
It was 3 a.m. I tell you, even if you would have read it at 3 a.m, I think you would have been like, I don't remember squat about what I just read.
I can't remember.
But there was no way around us having to go into the red hold. There was no way. We had to go down there. But you got to admit that on the fly, that was a really good idea. I'm sitting there and I'm like, wait a minute. And I knew I had that disguise kit. It was a good idea.
Yeah. So then
it made for some fun role play. Even though we didn't do a good job this week, it made for some really fun role playing. Because here we've got a PC walking along going, I'm the Ghoul King, let us go, release the moorings, leave us alone. And me going, I'm funny. The captain, and he was incompetent, so I killed him.
The wizard's having a lot of fun being the Ghoul King.
Yeah, he was.
And he's role-playing real well, too, now.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, all the players at the table are good role players. It's just that, even myself, I had gotten very weak with my role-playing skills because the stuff we've been playing has been so combat-centric. Everything is about minis and maps and combat. And I'm sure that people out there are going to be like, well, it's 4E, what do you expect? But any system can be used to roleplay. 4E just gives you a little more cinematic type of roleplay because of the crazy feats and skill and things that you can do with it. Okay, so that makes it a fun system to play because it's a little more cinematic, it's a little more crazy.
Yeah, walking in and talking to whatever the hell this is. Can you read that?
Well, a little more light would help. Yeah, Glabrazu Gate Warder.
Yeah, a giant, wolf-headed crab thing. They go in and they start talking to it, and it's just like, all right. But he did speak common, so they could do that.
Yeah, but if it speaks Abyssal, with my sword, I can speak Abyssal.
Yeah.
And so that's helped too, because the one magic user and myself, because I kept that what is it, Deathbringer.
Mm-hmm.
I kept that sword. I really like it. Even though it's going to be bad down the road and I'll need to get rid of it. But that helps because there's a lot of abyssal stuff in here and I'm able to talk to it.
Yeah.
But
so you guys went down to the Red Hold.
Mm-hmm.
You started at the Death Gate encounter, which had the... I just forgot how to read that. I'm not going to try.
The Gate Warder.
The Gate Warder. And then 2 Beholders. The Beholders were a massive pain in the ass for you guys because I kept the Wizard useless, which was fun. Because their centralized made it so you couldn't use encounter attack powers or daily attack powers. And then they also had a Maddening Ray, so I could dominate you.
So on if you haven't been following this, we've killed another Beholder before.
Yeah.
And
or no, you guys didn't because you had talked through
We talked our way through. We had help with the Beholder, but we got a bunch of stalks off of him. And we had our weapons modified for a lot of gold using those stalks. Well, now we've got some even cooler stalks. And now we have to think about what we're going to do with them. We actually have 3 sets because we killed 2 more Beholders. But one of them turned into a ghoul. So now we've got...
No, that ghoul died, so you were able to cut those off again.
So that's 4?
No, you have 3 sets, because remember the other Beholder ran away.
Oh, okay. So, yeah, now we've got 3 sets, and,
And I know you're like, Beholders wouldn't run away.
Here's the problem. We usually try to finish at 6. It was after 7, and the store's getting ready to close. So, that's the only reason that we kind of cheated. We'll talk about that encounter, but we cheated on that last encounter. I used the summoning stone that he had given me for just these kind of situations to summon one of his NPCs, and it helped cut down 2 or 3 rounds. It cut like 30 minutes of combat off though, because this thing that we were fighting at the end was like 1,500 hit points. It was ridiculous, and there's no way we could have gotten done.
Oh, it would add more because it had healing powers that I could have used, but I didn't. But anyways.
But anyway, here at the Death Gate,
you go down, and the wizard's like, I'm the Ghoul King, get out of our way, let us pass, where are the moorings? And they're like, well, it's a bit late, why the hell are you here? And you guys go back and forth, and you end up initiating combat.
I did. I got tired of talking to him. Like, all right, well, we're here to kill you. We already have some Beholder toys, and we're going to take yours.
You were like, normally we would be like, hail Orcus. But I'm just going to be straightforward. Or no, this was on the ship, wasn't it?
No, this was here.
We're here to kill you. And he's like, well.
So we rolled initiative, and there went the combat.
Yeah. And the first thing I do is...
This combat actually took a little while because... Well, you were foiled because everybody in the group's got the Featherfall rings, or flying, so...
Yeah, well, these guys have teleporting rays, and it teleports them 10 squares up. So 50 feet. So that's 5d10 of falling damage. So why the hell wouldn't I teleport them straight up?
Exactly.
There are no rules against it. And even if there are, I'm going to do it. Because if you know this party, it's freaking impossible to hit them. So you take as much damage as you can on them.
Yeah, because, I don't think any of us got anywhere near 0 hit points through any of these this week.
I think the druid...
But the druid never healed herself after the encounter. She wanted to get bloodied so she could use one of her powers. That was like death. It was hilarious. She's like, oh, I'm like, does anybody need healing? She's like, well, I do, but I want to be bloodied.
You should have healed her.
So it was hilarious,
Yeah, so you guys you guys take like 2 hours on this encounter. It was rough. But
the problem was, isn't this the one where you dominated me?
Yeah, I dominated you. I kept the wizard useless. And then...
You dominated me, and I just...
RPG Gem, I put a confusing ray on her, and she failed to save two rounds in a row. And basically what the confusing ray does...
You roll a die, and you run in a random direction.
You run in a random direction at full speed.
But you got great rolls, because each time you had her running away. It was good random rolls, but it was like, run away, and she's as far away as possible. So it took her dart out of play, but then again, it put her other weapon into play, which actually does more damage. She should be using that more.
No, but I'm like, All right, so this scores 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And 8 was away from the beholders. I'm like, all right. And rolls a 2. And she's running away.
Yep.
And then the next round, and then she fails her save. So the next round, I roll a 2 again. She runs away. This time she runs into a wall. So I'm like, all right, just start moving her diagonal because she has to move her full speed.
Well, the diagonal put her farther away. So
yeah, she has to move her full speed. But, yeah, that was funny.
And she's confused. She wouldn't run into the wall and hurt herself. She'd just keep trying to run away. So you did the right thing.
Well, she would have just kept walking in some random...
Well, I'm sure if somebody was being a dick DM, they'd say, okay, you've got 2 left. You run full force into the thing and you take damage. But that's not confusion. That's just blind or stupidity.
Or dominated.
Yeah, and where confusion is, she's confused and running the wrong way at full speed. She's still aware and sees a wall and would make the turn.
Well, technically, you're not running, you're more walking, aren't you?
Well, you said it's running full speed, so that's what we did.
Well, walking full speed.
But
going your full speed in some random direction.
Your full distance.
Yeah. So you guys went through that in about 2 hours, like I said. It was...
That one took a while. But those damn beholders are what got us. And once I decided, first I started trying to kill the big guy, and I'm like, screw that, we need to kill these beholders. Once we got the beholders done, it wasn't that bad.
Yeah. But you did get some good treasure. You got 2 level 30 items out of it, level 29 and level 28. And then you got the Potion of Life because you rolled awfully. And you got about, 400.
I let the 4 members of the party keep all the gold this weekend.
Yeah.
Which I know is not very thief-like, but my character right now is sitting on, close to 40 million gold. So even though a thief would want more, with my backstory, everything I have going on, I've got gold coming in out the butt all the time. And right now, the money is not my character's goal. My character has another goal that's based on power when this is all done.
Well, this one actually did have a chance for roleplay. If I wasn't an idiot and didn't read this, it says, Glebrezu lurches forward, a thick leather cord around its neck strung with skulls, jewelry, and weapons. You stand at the gate of the Red Hold. State your petition and quickly. So it did give a chance for roleplay, actually, in this one. But
like I said, part of the poor roleplay came from some of us being tired, and I think if you're doing well, I'm doing well. And RPG Gem usually does very well with the role play. Then the rest of the table usually follows. But we were tired, and it just seemed like it bogged down the table.
Yeah.
But anyway, we got through that. We had our bruises and our bumps. Now, this was funny because you were having trouble drawing this map up.
And I'm like, hey, you draw the map.
But this is, this is a complaint that I have, with encounters and that stuff. They always give you the maps. For all the money, and let's be honest, it comes down to money. They charge a lot of money for these modules. They could include the maps.
Part of the issue is, though, that some of these maps are really big and wouldn't fit on one of those maps.
I know, but it just annoys me because they could include more maps than just what do you have? 2 sides here.
Yes, I have 2 sides.
And it's kind of lame that they screw you over that way. And I don't know what they get out of it because Wizards does not sell like the maps, the Chessex maps and stuff. That's somebody else altogether. So they're not getting anything out of it other than more money from players that they should be giving you more value for your dollar.
Yeah.
But anyway, it was funny because he was having a hell of a time drawing this. So I sat down and drew the map, and what happens?
You guys talk through it.
So it was a waste of like 10 minutes. You spent 5 putzing around with it. I erased it and drew it up. And it's like, really? We just talked our way through this.
Well, so you guys talk your way through this. They failed their rolls awfully. I think they rolled 2s.
Well, it was because, we had the whole Ghoul King disguise thing going.
Yeah.
And
they had 2s to try and see through it. So that wasn't happening.
But, once again, that was us thinking on our feet in that very first encounter when I said, we have the disguise kit, let's roll with it. So we did.
Yeah. And it was funny, I think in the first encounter there, the Wizard's excuse for not getting into combat was, do you see my cape? it has mouths on it. And it was like...
Yeah, the Cape of Mouths or whatever it is.
Yeah, Cloak of Mouths. That was funny. So you guys talk your way through this. You were what were you saying to them?
It was just we need to get through and release the moorings. The Ghoul King's been summoned. The captain was relieved. I'm the new captain. He was incompetent, and unfortunately, now we have to release the moorings. And it's just like, all right, well, we were able to bluff our way through and got through that one.
Yeah, so you didn't go through the Forbidden Court, which would have a Vampire Lord, which those are not fun.
We asked them, which is the quickest route, and they gave us the route to go, and we picked the route with the least resistance. Since we had the intimidation factor, the bluff factor, we were able to get enough information to find out the quickest way to get there so we could get the moorings released.
Yeah.
But I don't think... What was the next thing we went through?
The Ghost Door with Iron Golem. So that...
We got past that one too.
Well, yeah, because he couldn't even make the bluff. Because his wisdom was 14, because he's a construct. So you guys were just like, hey, where do we go from here? And he just kind of points in some direction. And you're like, okay.
And I'm sure there are people out there listening, oh, you should have had to fight that. But let's face it, if the thing can't even pass, he's going to look and go, he's big and mindless thing, Ghoul King, I know who that is, I shouldn't be attacking him. Orcus wants him to be, do his bidding. It makes sense. That's part of the roleplay portion of it. It makes sense. If the characters are thinking on their feet, you don't punish them for it. You don't say, tough shit. You're still going to have to fight. He's in an area, it's basically his realm still at this point, and everybody knows Orcus has summoned him. And if you're able to bluff them and walk and talk your way through it, you've got to allow it. And if you don't, I just think you're a bad DM if you're going to be like, oh, you have to fight it. It's a role-playing game, and you need to remember that.
Yeah. So next room, you go into the Dark Garden. I think you had a little bit more trouble with these guys, but you did manage to pass because they couldn't make it. The Retrievers could, but it didn't really matter at that point. I think they rolled a 5.
Yeah, you were having horrible dice rolls until some of the combat.
Yeah, so you guys started with them, and they're like, "Well, why is the Ghoul King here? Why doesn't he just send his people down?" And you start making up excuses, and you did manage.
Well, we said, we were like, well, because why would we send incompetence down when he can come and take care of his own bidding?
Yeah, so you guys ended up talking to them for like 10 minutes. And you managed to get through them. Now, the path they took, there were only 3. I think they're going to have to take the other path, possibly. Because I saw some wards there, but I don't know. I don't care. So the next one was the Sphere Nexus. This was the last encounter.
And this was where all the moorings are that we had to release.
You guys, there were 2 beholders in here. And I think 2 people at least spoke Abyssal and Deep Speech. You and the Wizard. Mm-hmm. The Wizard started with his normal stuff, and they were definitely like, well, why didn't you just send your lackeys down? And,
well, we were at the table, it was funny because at the table we're sitting there, well, do you want to fight them? And I think I ended up initiating combat. Because I just got tired.
Well, at first you spoke in common, and you're like, I want these guys' eye stalks. And they're just staring at you. Like, what did he just say? And, so then you guys switched to speaking their language. And you talked to them for like 10 minutes, and then you ended up initiating combat. Or they initiated combat because they called the Retriever Holocaust. Yeah. And he's mean.
Which that's actually bringing 2 encounters into one, so, and this was like at 6:30.
Yeah.
And we were already over what we normally play. And we started up, and this Retriever thing was what?
1,100 hit points.
1,100 hit points, and then we had a room full of minions plus 2...
Beholders.
Beholders, so...
I tried to dominate you, but I failed every time.
I'm glad, because that would have gone poorly for the party.
Now, the bad thing for them was this thing had a teleport 10, so they tried surrounding him with the druid minions, like normal.
And that didn't work.
Yeah, so he just teleports away and gets right back to where he was to start biting the druid again. Or clawing the druid again.
And the bad thing was he had that stupid attack where, once he got there, it was like a burst.
Yeah, it was
and
a
it hit a bunch
thing.
of us. It hit a bunch of us, and it blinded me, blinded somebody else. I was still able to hit him, though, because my plus is like close to plus 40 now, so I rolled an 18 on my attack on him when I was blinded. It's like, yeah, I still hit him. He's a big target.
This guy had a plus 37 to hit, so it was really hard for him to miss. I think I had to critically miss the artificer and the wizard. He had a 46 AC, so he was kind of one of the hardest you have faced. He could have killed the Ghoul King easily.
Yeah. But anyway, we're fighting him.
He got 4 attacks, which was a big thing that affected you guys.
But this is the thing. The druid was taking the attacks. The wizard started working on the minions, but he was not able to do his normal thing. So he had to come up with some...
Yeah, I used that central eye again.
Yeah, you killed his encounters and dailies, until next turn. Kept doing that, so he used some flame spell, and that started helping with the minions and hitting some of the stuff. But my tactic, again, I didn't care about the big guy until the end, was to take out those damned beholders, because they're just such a pain in the butt with their weakening rays and their central ray and their freaking dominating ray and all this other crap. And it was just, you've got to get them out of play.
Yeah. Well, the one lasted until the end of the encounter, and it was like 7:15 by then. So I had to make it run away because...
Well, once we slaughtered the big guy, I guess it almost made sense. We had him down to like 40 hit points.
He was still over 100.
I don't think he was, because somebody had put a massive hit on him right before. But, I mean, we slaughtered this big thing. We slaughtered everything else in the room, and it made sense. And it, honestly, yeah, we could have gone for maybe another turn or so. That's all it would have lasted. But we were so far out of time and over time as far as the store that we just had to finish it.
With this retriever thing, though, my guy just ended up being useless because he couldn't freaking hit, which was... He kept rolling like 2s.
I did 2 crits in a row on him for 320 points.
And the guy...
And that helped.
Yeah, and the guy has a plus 40 to hit like you. So.
And it's funny because the Artificer puts Vorpal Weapon on me. And what's my first roll? The Vorpal made it so it was 18, 19, 20 as crit. Well, I already have 19 and 20 because of a feat. So my first roll I roll is what?
A 19?
A 20.
Oh, wow.
So that, he probably should have done it for somebody else, even though, hindsight's 20/20. And then my next roll's a 19, so I never even got the advantage of the one extra 5% chance. But that 300 points was pretty much what finished him off.
Yeah. So you guys kick his ass, and then you have to disengage the wards here. So then the next place...
That was what, a skill challenge?
Yeah.
So we did the skill challenge, we disengaged, and then
Some
a bunch of
angels.
Yeah, lackeys for the Raven Queen.
Yeah, angels appeared, and they started talking to you. They're like, "Follow us if you want to live," and you guys are like, "Why would we want to follow you?" And it's like, God damn it, because they don't think that the party's going to be a bunch of assholes and be like, why would we want to follow you?
Yeah, well, so we don't need to follow you to live. We just pounded our way through this,
Besides, you need to go with them to disengage the rest of the wards. So, either way.
The one thing, you need to... This is our one chance for a long rest, really, in this, so...
Well, I'll give you long rests in between this because you don't really have a chance. You're trying to get these wards disengaged as fast as possible.
Read it. In the first book, I think it says something about that this is where you would get a long rest. But that's where we ended, because they came along and we were like, well, we really don't need you, because we said we really don't need you. We took care of it. But then we decided to go ahead and talk to them, get information out of them. And at this point now, we have some, like he said, we have some stuff that we still need to deal with here in the red hold. But so far, I think except for the bad role play from the group, I'm having fun, but I think that this is kind of a predictable module.
Why?
It just is. I mean, it's just one pounding after another. I'm waiting to see what happens when we get to the end with the Raven Queen and all the stuff that's going to be at the end there. But we'll see. It's fun. If you want to do an epic level campaign, you don't want to, and you can't really say it's a campaign because, again, it's encounters. Unless you treat it like a campaign and give your players opportunity to rest. There are things that you have to do, but I don't believe the Raven Queen is in danger until that last encounter, where she just at that point gets stabbed.
How the fuck do you know that?
I just do. I read some stuff on forums where people were talking about the thing itself, and the biggest complaint is, and I'm starting to see it, the predictability. It's like everything, it's cookie cutter from one to the next with E1, E2, E3. I think if you really had the gumption, a good DM could make some awesome epic level campaigns to take the party through. But, we decided that this was our goal, to get through Orcus, save the Raven Queen, do that kind of stuff before we move on to GURPS with the campaign you're writing. So we're going to stick with this. But right now, again, I think part of my ambivalence about it is just we played so poorly yesterday.
Yeah. I was off, everybody else was off. It was... I mean, I think we were the only ones that were off, though, because the Wizard was role-playing well, even the Artificer was role-playing well.
I think he was disappointed because we were killing a lot of the things and not saving them for ghouls for him.
Yeah.
But at this point, I don't think my character's inclined to help with that.
Yeah.
Because it's just... like I said, I'm sure people out there are like, oh, you can't do that, but my thief is, is probably
you can't
neutral, be a lawful evil. In the end, that's what my thief is going to end up being. I know the thing with lawful evil, you don't break the laws and stuff like that, but at this point, the only reason I'm using my thief abilities and stealing and stuff is to meet the ends of the Raven Queen and these people that are sending us on these things.
Yeah.
Before it was,
Well, right now there are no laws.
Initially, it was all about my character getting stuff, money, power. I've got that. And my character is really shifting, even though she's still going to have those abilities and stuff at the end when she's level 30. I look at it like my epic destiny is going to be something totally different than just stealing crap at 30.
Yeah.
And that's why I'm setting up the cities and stuff like that.
Yeah. And I'm sure some of you are even like, you can't do that, and I say just go the hell away. I don't care.
Well, I wouldn't even go that far. It's just, the DM, it's a DM's world, and let's face it, I know the one person at the table, his biggest gripe, they don't have the leadership feat and this kind of stuff. You don't need a feat. You don't need leadership. If the character is able to role play it, I've gotten my charisma up, and let's face it, and I don't even think I'm going to give you a prime example. You don't have leadership feat, you don't have the charisma, this kind of stuff. It doesn't matter. Richard Nixon had no charisma. That's why he failed when it was like the first debate on TV against John F. Kennedy. Nixon's sitting there, he's panicking, sweating. Kennedy ended up winning the election because Nixon had the flop sweats. And honestly, on camera, comparing the two, one had charisma, one didn't. you don't. And here, Nixon, he ended up being leader of the United States. Yeah, he screwed up because his issues were something altogether different. But you know, anybody sits there and says, "Oh, you don't have the leadership feat, you don't have this or that," that's bullshit. Anyone has the potential to rise to that type of situation.
Look at Julius Caesar. I mean, his leadership was, "Oh, you don't agree with me, we'll die."
Yeah, his was just megalomania. And, you know, that's one way that your character can get to the point where, yes, you rule a city. Now, yeah, you may be a megalomaniac, but as long as you do stuff to generate loyalty from your followers, which you have to admit, I mean, I do stuff to generate loyalty from the party and from the NPCs that follow me. I'm extremely generous, you know, as far as what I give out from loot and stuff like that, and I treat everybody fairly.
Yeah.
So the thing is, I mean, it's D&D. You should have an end goal with your character, because once you hit level 30, you're pretty much done. And at this point, from really, once we got from 21 forward, where we hit our epic destinies, that's when I started figuring what my end goal was with this character. And leadership feats, charisma or not, I had an end goal for the character. I've role-played it. My character's actions and everything, I feel justify what is happening.
Yeah.
And, you know, if you can't see that, then I don't know if it's a lack of imagination or you're just so stuck on the rules, but you've got to be able to think outside the box, play outside the box. The next character I'll play for GURPS is not going to have anything like this. He's just going to be a psychopath tank from hell that's going to kill everything.
Yeah.
And, you know, because nobody else in the group is going to tank probably. They're going to make all this other stuff, and I'm just going to make this big, dumb, unhittable, unkillable
Well, the Druid's
guy.
funny because the past, 5 characters she's recommended I've absolutely hated because it's had something to do with goblins.
Well, you've got to let
horses.
her play. You've got to let her play what she wants to play. I mean, playing a horse is kind of a lame idea because what are you going to do? Somebody's going to ride you and take you to the glue factory. But if she comes up with something that she's really attached to, it's not.
Well, she did come up with
it's
a good
not
idea.
outside of the races that you are allowing her in your world. Then you've got to let it go.
Well, one of the characters she talked to me about this weekend was actually one of the first that I didn't hate.
But whether you hate it or not doesn't matter.
Well, a little bit. Well, it didn't have anything to do with a stupid race that I wasn't allowing, and that was part of the reason.
That's part of the problem. I mean, and we're veering away from our weekend thing, but this will be part of our weekend gaming in the near future.
So right now we're talking about the future of our weekend gaming,
and and playing GURPS. That's one of the problems with GURPS, and this goes back to the rules lawyer issue. And just some stupid crap that people will pull. With GURPS, it is kind of like a roadmap, and it lays out a giant path where you can play all kinds of stuff. That's why it's called a generic universal role-playing system, because it's not just like D&D where it's a fantasy realm. You can play a fantasy realm, you can play a future realm, you can play Greece, you can play anything, and it gives you all of those rules. But when the rules lawyers get a hold of the book, they think, oh, it says in the book I can do this. Okay, we're doing a fantasy campaign. Well, I want to be a metal man. No, that's more of a superhero type thing. You can't do it. And then I
silenced all that stuff.
And then they start debating it. Or, oh, it says cat people, but that's not in my world. So you have to realize
Well, I hadn't established the races in my world, so I can understand that. And she was asking me, so that was fine as well.
But that's fine. But when people start trying to abuse the book, oh, it's in the book. All right, people remember, it's a generic universal system. It's for every possible world, but it's not for every world you play in. If you're playing a fantasy campaign and the DM says, these are the only races I allow, these are the only classes I allow, that's the end of it. The rules lawyer needs to forget all the other stuff that he read and not be a dick at the table.
Yeah. And that was also before I put all the advantages, disadvantages that were not allowed.
Well, and that was my suggestion, because you know what? That's just a can of worms that you're leaving open. If you don't disallow advantages in the book because they make no sense in your world, then you're going to have these arguments at the table. So once I said, look, if there are certain things you don't want, you need to say these are the disadvantages and advantages that I disallow, that do not exist in my campaign. And that takes care of the problem.
Now, granted, some I'm not allowing shape-shifting unless you are a druid or the skin changer race.
That you made, yeah.
And I did note that, and I'm like, before you put that on for a druid, I have to approve it. And that is reasonable because...
Well, it's your world. The thing is, that's another thing with GURPS. It's not like D&D. You can't go out and buy an E1 module where it lays out all the things. You create the world, you create the encounters, and you create everything that's in it. It's all out of your imagination.
Like, I have seen a book there. I think it's a Bainstorm or something, but that's still just a setting.
It's a setting, and you still have to design everything.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I think that'll make it a little more fun because it's something that is yours. Nobody else can play that campaign. You're designing your world. You're creating your maps. You're creating your NPCs. You're creating random encounter tables and stuff like.
I am. It's a pain in the ass, but I am.
But just think, once it's done, your random encounter tables are ready for everything you do. It's not like old D&D days where if you had a bad DM, you walk into a room, there are 5 skeletons. Walk into another room, there are 5 orcs. Walk into the next room, there's 3 skeletons and 2 orcs. And they just would make up bad encounters that were just cookie cutter one after another.
I've read a bunch of things, and I think the encounters will be a lot better after I did read those, because they're like the blog that you recommended to me had a lot of things about that stuff. Like 5 things why your encounters suck.
Yeah.
I read through that, and it's like, okay, those are pretty good ideas.
And this will just be, if you want to read it, in that Angry DM.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, it's like angrydm.com. He's got some good stuff up there. I definitely say if you're working on campaigns and stuff, you may want to look at it. There are a lot of sources out there where other people who have been doing this stuff and created their own campaigns that they've come up with a lot of good ideas.
And then there was another site who's like a bunch of DMs, GMs, stuff like that, who post articles I found, and that helped me come up with the idea for my campaign. And I can't remember the site, otherwise I'd recommend it.
Maybe if you can find it, then I'll have him put it in the write-up for this podcast on the blog.
I have it in my bookmarks.
So, but that's pretty much it. You know, right now we're working on finishing off, getting to level 30. I'm so close to level 28 right now. I can smell it.
Yeah, he tried to divide a massive amount of...
Well, I'm so, for all the money and loot, I always divide by 4, even though there's 5 at the table, because it's just such small amounts of gold. I'm not worried about, I've got 100,000, 50,000 gold here or there from an encounter. I know it sounds crazy, but if you understood what my character, you'd understand that at this point, it's more about generating loyalty with the party, keeping them happy, and I've got money coming in. I don't need these paltry amounts, which to my character, they're paltry amounts.
Yeah. And this weekend, because I have been adding items, and some of the items were, because I do base it off some stuff, like my favorite game, and there are some OP items in that game, and I brought those in, but they're like a lot of money. He's like, well, I'll just buy a helmet. It's like, all right. So your head, that's fine. It'll never die, but, they'll just cut your head off. And,
who?
The artificer.
Yeah.
Because he'd read through it, and he's like, I'm reading through some of your items, and I'm like, I'll just buy a helmet. And it's like, I'll just cut your head off then.
So your head will live forever and sit on somebody's shelf.
Yeah, because in GURPS, you have the different pieces of armor, because you have to protect every part of your body, because that part of your body can be hit, and it gives DR, or damage resistance, to that part of your body. And the damage resistance basically reduces the damage it does to that part of the body. So basically, if you have like a DR6 helmet, that's a lot for a helmet. And he took a shot to the face, you would have 6 cut off that. However, anywhere else, you would have no damage cut off.
No resistance.
Yeah. So, Yeah, his head would be completely fine, but everywhere else.
He's making the false assumption. I mean, it's not like D&D where you buy armor, it gives you an AC. It is, you have resistances on each individual part. You can target individual parts of the body, and that's why these resistances are important in that game. And it can be really expensive and crazy to try to protect every part of your body properly, which is the way it should be. GURPS looks at combat the way combat is.
Yeah.
You know, somebody can sit there and chop a leg off, and you're screwed.
Yeah. It's not like D&D where first level magic items are 360 gold. They're a lot more, because first you got to enchant the item, which takes days.
Well, they're more rare.
Yeah.
You know, magic items themselves are rare.
Well, you can make magic items if you have the correct spells. It just takes a very long time.
Yeah.
And
but that's why
expensive.
they're rare, because it's going to cost a lot of money, it's going to take a lot of time, and you know, these magic users may not be willing to spend all their time making magic items for people. They've got their stuff they want to do.
Yeah.
Granted. And it's not make magic items for goons all the time.
Yeah. And I think some people need to understand that.
Yeah. Well, you need to, honestly, you're sending out the thing, you need a full campaign write-up before we get started. It's maybe 15, 20 pages that you're going to give to the characters. This is the setting, explain your stuff, explain why magic items are rare, like what we were just talking about. Make it so that it's very clear. You can't just go into a shop and say, "Oh, I want 5 bags of holding. I want this. I want that." Bam, 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 and it's all there, because it's not.
I have like one magic item written up, and that's all that's going to be in the campaign.
Might want to look at. I saw 2 books on the shelf there, but I'm not sure if they were 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th edition. Magic items 1 and 2.
They are 3rd edition. The magic book has everything about magic items that you need to know.
Okay. So, and do you have that?
Yeah.
Okay. I don't know what I've bought for you, so because I'm not looking at it. All I'm going to worry about is the character creation, and I'm going to play. I have no interest in worrying about the DMing. I'm letting you concentrate on that.
It's funny because our wizard, I have no doubt he's going to be a wizard. He's already figured everything out about wizards. And I'm like, all right. So I've left this. And at first I'm like, I hand him the book, and I'm like, so I have no clue how magic works. I'm going to leave that to you to figure out. And he has.
Well, by the time it comes down to playing, you'll have to have a clue. So I
figured it out. I have figured it out. But I was joking with him because he
well, you've got so much to do right now with building the campaign. I'd say that you need to finish your campaign up and then spend a solid week making sure you're solid on any rules that you might be fuzzy on. And then you'll be ready for your start.
Yeah.
I think we probably have a solid month of play left of this, so you've got a good month to prepare.
I still want my campaign done in like 2 weeks.
I wouldn't rush it, so it's not. I wouldn't make it shoddy. But anyway, we're starting to get a little bit longer, so we're going to cut it off here. That's our weekend gaming wrap up. Once again, I don't know what number it is, but it'll all be in the title.
It's some number.
It's something. But once again, we're going to continue with E1, Prince of Undeath.
E3.
I'm tired.
E1 was like early this year.
I'm tired still. I was up late last night, but that's it for this weekend's wrap up. We're having fun. Hopefully, I think next weekend we're going to make sure we get some solid sleep before we play. I don't think our druid's going to be there.
Your druid's not going to be there for the next 2 weekends, which is going to hurt you guys a lot.
Unless somebody else comes in and plays, so.
Yeah. Well, it'll hurt you a lot because her character...
it does tie up the board.
Yeah, and it is built very well.
It's a tank.
The artificer tried to build it, and he couldn't. Yeah, so...
It's a tank. But,
somehow she managed to make a tank out of a druid. Whatever.
But that's it for this week. We'll be back on Thursday with our Encounters wrap-up. We'll have a new vlog up on Wednesday. And I think tomorrow I'm going to have just a write-up on the blog itself. So, we're going to try and get something on there every day during the week. Weekends are for gaming and stuff, so we won't have content there. But we're going to try and fill it out now for each day of the week. Other than that, be sure to rate, subscribe, like, comment on the YouTube channel. And be sure to comment as well on the blog about anything you see. And thanks for listening. RPG Dad signing off.
Bye.